I've been asked to make a contribution to this colloquium, which will be focused on young people in agriculture. And I want to share some of my own experiences of working on my family's farm in our National Progressive Farm Organization and also in the international peasant movement. These experiences have shaped my belief that the future of peasant or small-scale agriculture, family farm agriculture, has to be rooted in agroecological practice and political mobilization, and that this is linked to critical academic work that reinforces and challenges us in our work. So I have a few farm statistics up from Statistics Canada, and I'm not going to go through them, so hopefully you can see them. I don't know if I'm standing directly in the way or not. But as Tony Weis mentioned this morning, there's been a profound shift in reorganization of the agriculture and food system over the last decades, and I think I liked your point this morning, Tony, about how that's not an inevitable shift. That doesn't have to be the kind of agriculture and food system that we live in. So just to give you a sense of the context in Canada, since 1988 and the beginning of the free trade era, Canada has lost 80,000 farms. Corporate concentration in the agri-food industry has been rampant. For example, Cargill and XL Foods now control 80% of the Canadian beef packing industry. Between 1988 and 2007, the number of farmers under the age of 35 dropped 62%. And in the same period, exports tripled and farm debt also tripled. So we're in a situation where a high debt load and low or negative net farm incomes means that fewer young people are interested in farming, or if they're able, or if they're interested, fewer young people are able to farm. And this, of course, poses a serious problem for the continued existence of our family farms. Farms are also getting larger and becoming more and more highly capitalized, which again poses a problem for young people's entry into farming. Also, just as a slight side note, but just to mention that we're still in this era of free trade agreements, and currently the National Farmers Union is struggling against the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, and that's an agreement that Canada is in negotiation with the European Union on. So we're looking for support to fight against that. So I want to tell you a little bit about my farm. These are some pictures of our farm. Our farm is a mixed certified organic family farm. It was homesteaded in 1904. We grow flax, lentils, yellow peas, oats, wheat, and we have about 50 head of beef cattle. We have a vegetable garden for our own consumption, as well as some berry bushes and fruit trees. And we were first certified organic in 1998. It's a dry place to farm. The annual precipitation is about 14.5 inches a year. And all of my siblings and myself, we're 4 in our family, 4 kids, and we have all worked on the farm or work on the farm at various times in the year between going to school and doing other things. And in fact, our farm is actually more attractive for an intergenerational farm transfer than most, partly because it's an organic farm with low input costs, and partly because our community still has a school. And we are in close enough proximity to a city that many of the services that young people need in order to start families and to continue farming, those are available. However, our family has also relied heavily on off-farm income and faces the same dilemma of how to cover the large capital investment in order to cover retirement income. So I think I won't talk any more about the situation that we're in. I think Robin actually, the Philippines example, a lot of what she said resonated exactly with our farm. And I think that's something to keep in mind too when I talk more about the international peasant movement. But Robin's basically covered the conversation about why we transitioned to organic, both for economic reasons, for ecological reasons, but also for issues of control over our own farm. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the National Farmers Union Youth. So the National Farmers Union is the only voluntary direct membership national farm organization in Canada. It was formed in 1969 as an amalgamation of provincial farmers' unions, and it's a policy-oriented organization. The NFU is unique in its structure, and this is why I want to tell you a little bit about the NFU. The NFU is unique in its structure in that it has dedicated positions for youth and women in the organization. And through these positions, I served as youth president for 4 years, which is a while ago. My term ended in 2003. But through these positions of youth president and women's president and the other positions that follow, women and youth are actively involved in the executive decisions of the organization and are a central part of the organization and its work. This changes the dynamic for rural youth participation. It guarantees that young farmer voices are at the table, and also for me, it served as a platform of intense learning, both in terms of developing organizational and leadership skills, and also becoming well-versed in agricultural issues. We've done a wide variety of projects and programs and things that the NFU youth work on, and I won't talk about that now because I think I will run out of time, but in case you're interested, you can talk to me about it afterwards. But youth organizing has been difficult. A difficult task in an environment where farm numbers and farm incomes are on a downward trend. But something new is happening. So I think there's a lot of bad news, and I think this colloquium here is in a unique position to start talking about alternatives and the good news. So I'll focus on that. So the first point is that urban youth are increasingly becoming interested and an important part of organizing for a future food system based on family farming. These youth represent a new paradigm where new farmers are not necessarily from rural areas. And this is a significant shift from how we've been thinking about who's going to take over the family farm. And second, young farmers are also causing a shift towards small-scale, ecologically sustainable food production and away from commodity production. This shift is both for financial reasons, and as I mentioned before, and also for ideological reasons. Young people in Canada are excited about directly engaging in the alternatives and building a new food system. And so those ideological and financial reasons are helping to lead the shift towards more ecologically sustainable food production. I just wanted to read a little bit of an excerpt of the statement that the current National Farmers Union youth are engaged in. They call it the Campaign for New Farmers. And I'll just read you the section that describes what their Campaign for New Farmers is. The current dominant model of agriculture has pushed out our young people. This is no mystery to the few young farmers who are left in Canada. The Campaign for New Farmers is our reaction to an industry that has left us with few options. It's about alternatives. It's about creating a voice and a vision for farming in the future. It's about reclaiming control over our resources and contributing to a food system in a way that makes us proud to be farmers. It's about using our creativity, our resources, and all the courage we can muster up to revive rural Canada and give hope to the people around us. The Campaign for New Farmers is a network, a support system, a policy watchdog, and a resource for all those who are out there getting their hands dirty as they offer up alternatives to a world gone mad. So that's just a bit about their vision and where they're headed. And a key part of engaging in the alternatives and working towards a just food system, okay, I better hurry up. A key part of engaging in these alternatives and working towards a just food system for the NFU youth is participation in Via Campesina. So I want to turn now to Via Campesina. The National Farmers Union is a founding member of the International Peasant Movement. And the Via Campesina, for those of you who don't know, is a movement of peasants, small and medium-scale farmers, landless people, women farmers, indigenous people, migrants, agricultural workers, and youth from Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. And it's in defense of small-scale, sustainable agriculture, opposed to corporate-driven agriculture, and calls itself an autonomous, pluralist, and multicultural movement. So in 2003, I participated in the World Trade Organization's 5th ministerial meeting in Cancun, Mexico, as part of Via Campesina's coordinating committee. It was important for us to be there in force to call for the removal of agriculture from the WTO, and through our parallel forum to express our vision for food sovereignty. And while there's a lot to be said about food sovereignty, I just want to touch on one piece of it here, and that is that food sovereignty is a framework that articulates and challenges the power structures in the food system and calls for a radical reorientation. It is the propositional component of what the Via Campesina works on. Of course, this idea has been further developed and has grown since it was first introduced at the World Food Summit by Via Campesina in 1996. I had a story to tell about the protest in Cancun, but I guess just in 2 sentences to tell you that from my own experience, the beginning of youth consolidation within Via Campesina's movement, it was building towards Cancun, but Cancun was a pivotal moment. And one of the reasons was that we were in an intense situation, as many of you know. Lee Kyung-hae, a member of a farm leader from South Korea, stabbed himself and died just after the first protest in Cancun. And that was his protest. He was wearing the sign, he's here, wearing the sign, WTO kills farmers. This act, of course, radically changed the dynamic of the protests and of the work that we were carrying on. And there was, it was a galvanizing moment, I feel, for the movement. The youth took a leading role in the following march, and these are the 2 pictures here of the final march. And it was a really interesting. Took a lot of organizational work to through consensus decision making to negotiate with the Black Bloc, the anarchist youth from Mexico City, and many others, to create a march that was a peaceful march and that had a different symbolism. So rather than pushing the fence down, the idea of the final march in Cancun was that we would dismantle the fence inward. We would dismantle the fence towards the protest. And then, as the picture at the bottom showed, everyone sat down. And so the protest was all of the conversation in the media around violent protest and instigating violence against, provoking the police, etc., was basically null and void with this action. And for me, the important part of this is that that the youth and the movement were a very intimate and important part of making this happen. Stop. Okay. Okay. So then the last. No, that's okay. I'll just say my concluding remarks here. Then that to me, without meaningful participation of youth in our movement, the creation of any alternative agriculture that we talk about will be stunted. There has to be a connection with young people in Canada who are redefining, and young people all over the world who are redefining what it means to be a farmer, what's possible economically, and how we can build a better food system. To me, this is connected to the conversation at the political level through Via Campesina with the concept of food sovereignty, and it's through working with Via Campesina, backed up by critical academic analysis and good research that will then come back to the people who are on the ground and allow us to actually be able to farm. And I think maybe I'll leave it there. Thank you.